Thank you.
Mazel tov to you.
Thank you. All right, so here's where we're going to go with this. It's tool time. Now we go into the toolbox. One of the first things I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about nonviolent communication. Marshall Rosenberg. But in looking into it more and more deeply, I would like to do a very watered down version of it. Because as I get deeper and deeper into the science of what Marshall Rosenberg does and teaches, I find it very analytical. And right now your kids don't need analytical from you. So I want to use a portion and a parts and kind of a bastardized version of what Marshall Rosenberg, and I've studied his work. I think the man is a genius. And I don't believe in the analytics when you're communicating with your kid. And there's something we wrote on day one that I really want to get back to. There's a few little things we put in there. So we're just going to do a couple things that we're just going to start to take out of our conversations with our kids or our thoughts about their kids. Well, if they would start getting good grades, then I could relax and give them back their iPhone. Anytime we're giving an if-then, anytime we are setting up our experience or existence, if I could just go to that one other seminar, then I could start saving my money correctly. If I could just read that book, then I'm sure I would be happier. If I found, I saw a poster the other day at the gym that just made me think about this. And I love this. I think it's a perfect prelude where it shows this picture of the guy and he looks all surprised and he said, "Oh my gosh, I forgot to work out for the last 8 years." And there's always something in the way of our happiness. There's always something in the way or something else we need before we can do that thing that we're supposed to do. And for you guys, it's the self-care piece. Because the self-care piece must become the 99 practice. It's what you're doing 99% of the time is taking care of yourself. And once that's done, once that self-care piece is really in play and that becomes your habit. Because if you're not doing daily, hourly, minutely self-care, it just means that self-care is not your habit. If you're doing daily self-care, then you have a daily self-care habit. If you have a monthly self-care, you have a monthly self-care habit. What if self-care was your life experience? And again, it's not about being self-centered. And for women, that's easy to say because you have not been offered the opportunity that men have to just do things for yourself. At a very young age, women are very clearly shown you have to do things for everybody else. You're a creature of this world. You have to do things for everyone. And when you look at the rite of passage of a female versus a male, it is very much focused on the world first and self later. Whereas the men get to develop self first and the world later. And they call that the red, white, and black. Case in point, Snow White's skin was what color?
White.
What color were her lips?
Red.
And what color was her hair? Captain Hook and Mr. Darling, the two primary male figures in Peter Pan, are always in red, white, and black. Captain Hook has the big red cloak, and he's got the black beard and the black hair, and his shirt is white. And Mr. Darling has a black tux and a white shirt. And he's got a little spot of, his handkerchief, and I believe his cummerbund is red. Okay? So this red, white, and black is a consistent theme in fairy tale. Okay? Women go through their rite of passage, beginning with the white, then going to the red. Men go through their rite of passage, beginning with the red and then into the white. The black is the wisdom. The black is the age where you get to start to sit inside and say, you know what? Life ends. We're all going to die, and until we know this, we're useless. And now that I know this, now I'm comfortable with it, and now I can just live. I can be red, I can be white. The red is the focus on the self, and the white is the focus on the world. One of the best versions of this I have heard is that there is a rite of passage ceremony in Africa where the moment the boy gets into the deep red, he is sent away from the women's village. So the boy must live in the women's village until he is around 12 years old, when his self-centered behavior starts to become detrimental to the community. And then the men come get him. And they take him to their village. And so, of course, the young 12-year-old boy walking into the men's village, he's only heard stories. And he's only ever seen the men when they come to the women's village for one of two reasons. It's either to get a child or to make one. And so here come all the men, and he knows they're coming for him. And the first thing they do is give him a cup of red liquid. And it is the blood of the men. And he must drink it. And then the men show the young boy to a house that they have built for him, to say, it is by our blood you become a man. And so it's very accepted that boys are allowed to be in the self-centered phase. Oh, he's just being a boy. Oh, look at him. He's burning ants with a magnifying glass. He's such a boy. All right? As he's destroying and throwing rocks in the neighborhood houses. He's just a rambunctious little boy. But if a girl did that, don't you know people live there? How could you do that? Now, these things are changing a little bit in this world. And in fact, one of the problems that they're saying is that boys aren't allowed to be this anymore, especially in school. They have that seat for kids in elementary school that rocks constantly so that their energy's getting stimulated. And it was this beautiful design, and the scientists said, this is great. It's going to keep their muscles developing, and they're constantly going to moving. It's going to help them focus. And someone was like, they could just go to recess. Remember when we used to have that? In fact, when you were a child, Mr. Inventor, you had recess. So, but this is the passage. Women are supposed to understand the world first, and then you're allowed to focus on yourself. Whereas boys are allowed to focus on themselves. Now, when we see boys who don't grow up out of the red, they begin to run companies like, I don't know, just to throw something out there, Pepsi Foods, who is the most biggest, giganticest food company on the planet that absolutely decimates the Brazilian rainforest for their beef crops and their corn crops to make their sugar and poison beef to be able to feed children that poisons them. That's very red thinking. All for that paycheck. Whereas I wonder how many wars have actually been started by women. Even a woman in red. So this is what we're talking about, is what happens when Snow White and Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, the Sleeping Beauty bit is that the moment she pricked her finger and saw red, she went back to sleep. So she stayed Sleeping Beauty. She stayed that eternal youth, the Cruella, like we were talking about, the Jester girl. Okay?